and thank you so much for joining me. Are you planning on putting an enterprise architecture practice in place? Well, I've created a series of courses to help you. This is the second course of 4, How to Assess Your Organization's Enterprise Architecture Maturity. So the last course, we collected the information to paint the picture of the vision of our new enterprise architecture practice. This course is going to show you how I gauge a current state. So the purpose of this course is to provide you with the tools and techniques in order to gauge the enterprise architecture maturity level of your organization. So every organization, whether they realize it or not, performs enterprise architecture activities. We want to gauge our current state so that we can figure out how to get our organization from where they are today to the picture that we painted during the last course. Remember, our goal is not to have senior executives asking, do we even need an enterprise architecture practice? But rather asking, what is the appropriate enterprise architecture practice for our organization? The information gathered from this course will help us do just that. So for each of those 5 areas that we just talked to the senior executives about, we want to gauge how mature the organization is. A level 1 maturity means that you are thinking about enterprise architecture and you're starting to define what it means to you and your organization. You're creating a plan. A level 2 means you're developing the processes and structures to support enterprise architecture. You're developing and documenting how it will look. Level 3 means that you're actually implementing it. You're doing enterprise architecture. You may not be performing it everywhere, but it is a start. 4 means you are performing enterprise architecture everywhere. And 5 means that you're in a position where you're fully implemented and actually monitoring and continuously improving your processes and services based on metrics. So similar to that last course, we need to set up a meeting to build out our EA maturity assessment. The last course was focused on your senior executives. We did this because we were painting the vision of the future. This course is focused on everyone else because we are trying to gauge our current state. So I provided a template for you to start off. It's included in your package. And I'd like you to start filling the maturity assessment template yourself. And what I mean by that is to start color coding each of the blocks. Color it green if it's something that's been implemented. Color it yellow if it's partially implemented, and then color it red if you haven't even started implementing it. You can probably guess the maturity based on the discussions you had with senior executive and what you know about the organization. But then I want you to set up a group meeting, and when I do this, I like to use people who are doing enterprise architecture activities, people who are passionate and excited about starting up an enterprise architecture practice within the organization. Then, like the meetings that we held with the senior executives, this meeting is really twofold. 1 is to educate and get the buy-in, and 2 is to confirm your assessment. This step, it's really more about making everyone feeling part of the process, bringing everyone along, ensuring that they're contributing to all of this. So come prepared with a presentation and walk through each of those areas that we discussed with senior executive and engage the people within the meeting to determine the maturity level. So this is how I like to approach it. I start with a bit of an explanation. So similar to the definition that we used with the executive team, I would say something like, our first area is enterprise architecture, process, and activities. And this is really all about that consolidated roadmap. Enterprise architecture is about change and putting structure around it. So the first thing we want to do is really set up a plan, which is starts with that consolidated roadmap. The roadmap lists all the activities that need to happen in order to move your organization from where they are today to the future state or the vision. Then I give a brief sentence like, fully mature means the enterprise architecture process and activities are fully integrated into the organization. And the consolidated roadmap is a living and evolving entity driving change. So tell them that you started to color code this. Explain why you chose the color you did and why you didn't move it up or down a level. Ask for their input on what they think. Walk through each of these boxes and really and read out what's in it and really talk about what it means to your organization. This really helps to get everybody on the same page and the same understanding of what this is going to look like. You know, and then if you walk them up and really explain what this top level is, it gives people a clearer understanding of what they're aiming for. The next area is the team. So the team is about ensuring all 5 disciplines are being represented. This doesn't mean that there's an individual within each discipline. It doesn't mean that the team is 6 people. The 5 disciplines, namely business, information, applications, technology, and security, and then the 6th being the enterprise architect. It's more about the skills. So a level 5 means that all 5 disciplines plus an enterprise architect are represented, and enterprise architecture is their main responsibility. They're not just doing it off the side of the desk. An enterprise architect is someone that has worked in multiple of those disciplines. So they should be able to sit in and fill in some of those gaps. Depending on how the size of your organization, an enterprise architect can fill a couple of those positions. So level 3 is governance. Governance is the vehicle to manage and ensure alignment. So fully mature means the enterprise architecture team has a representative at the strategic table and is involved in all the strategic meetings. All projects are reviewed and endorsed by the EA team. This does not mean that EA has the hammer and is making all the decisions. What it means is they're part of the projects. They're there to help translate and convey what that consolidated roadmap is really saying, making sure that it's interpreted correctly. And then at the same time, as the project dives in and discovers all the details when they're writing up their functional specs and their design specs, as that information comes forward, your EA representative should be able to pull that information out and evolve the roadmap if need be. The last piece here is outsourcing. Quite often, organizations will hire a company to do their development work or manage their systems. That doesn't mean the organization shouldn't have that bigger picture and understand what's going on. Having your enterprise architecture team interacting with the outsourcing will ensure that it aligns to your vision. It will ensure that it meets your business needs and your goals and objectives. It's not just about achieving SLAs, service level agreements. Those typically are in place to ensure that the lights are on and that it's accessible and available. The 4th area is your business processes. I find quite often enterprise architecture practices miss the boat in this space. So organizations exist to do something. What they do is their core business, and how they do it are their core business processes. The processes evolve and change over time. Now, enterprise architecture is all about change and evolving these processes. So business processes refer to all business processes, and they include your core, which are typically your mission critical business functions. Corporate, which are quite often your finances, your payroll, your HR, supporting or enabling ones, which typically are your IT processes, your idle processes. So fully mature means that all processes are being monitored and measured against KPIs and critical success factors. Now, where enterprise architecture quite often fails is there's a lot of processes within the organization, and if you try and tackle all of them at once, you never get the traction. I've seen quite a few organizations that try and start it strictly in the IT part, in the IT shop. Well, you never get the traction or the business to buy in because they just don't see the value. The way I like to approach it is I find those mission critical business functions. I find the processes behind them. This is not a process like a business analyst would dive in. It's not to that detail. These are the high level, across the organization, end-to-end process. And it is those high level main activities that make up those business functions. So again, the way I would start with it is I would find the mission critical functions, I'd find the high level process supporting it, I would determine the KPIs, critical success factors on those, and I would start to build the practice around those. Once you get the traction and it starts to become second nature, then you start to move out to the other business functions. So the last area is the commitment to EA. The commitment to enterprise architecture has to come across the whole organization. So fully mature means enterprise architecture is viewed as a core planning resource across the organization. Business units are using EA to plan. Projects are viewing EA reviews as a core task. All points of change include EA as a planning resource. So again, for it to really take off, you have to have, and for it really to become fully mature, you have to have everyone in the organization seeing the value and including it, wanting it to be part of the process. So after the meeting, and we've got our maturity assessment, we've talked about it, we've color-coded it. After the meeting, we have enough information needed to really complete this template. So your exercise is to complete it for your organization. Get all of the boxes the appropriate color to represent your current state, and then adjust the words as you see fit. And then now that we have the current state, an idea of the vision from our previous course, the next step is to determine the appropriate EA practice for your organization. And I'm going to cover that in the next course. I'm going to show you how to use all that material and then customize it so that it moves your organization from where it is today to where it wants to get to. Having the EA practice too big will fail, or EA program that, EA team that's too big and the practice that's just tied in too much, it'll fail. If it's too small, it'll also fail. I will help you find the size that fits. So thank you so much, and I will catch you again when I'm about to go into the third course.